There is a very real and deep-seated cultural problem within hockey.
I walked away from a sport that was going to pay me well into adulthood because of how disgusting it made me feel.
Anyone who's trying to say that this is not a hockey culture, well, you're partly right, because it's not just hockey culture, it's sports culture.
I'm actively looking to the minor hockey program to be a leader in a culture change.
Concern and anger over the recent sexual assault allegations against junior hockey players and their subsequent handling by Hockey Canada. Today, Nike became the latest in a long line of corporate sponsors to cut ties with the organization. While Hockey Canada is dealing with a crisis, there are wider questions. Is hockey culture toxic, and what does that mean? Well, tonight we have two guests to talk about that. Alexis Peters, a professor at Mount Royal University in Calgary, who's done extensive research on toxic masculinity in elite hockey, and a former junior hockey player, a lawyer and author of I Am Nobody, confronting the sexually abusive coach who stole my life, Greg Gilhooly. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much, Ian, for having me.
So let's put this question to both of you, and I'll start with Alexis. Is hockey culture toxic?
Well, it's not the game of hockey itself, but there is a subculture that develops, and not just around hockey either. It does, with a lot of the research you'll see, especially in the States, there was issues with football and soccer and other team sports as well. But the subculture in hockey in Canada is the most extreme that we see this toxic masculinity playing out from a very early age.
Okay, we'll talk more about that, but Greg, let me bring you into this conversation. Your answer to the broad question about whether hockey culture is toxic.
Yeah, I think hockey reflects society at large, and hockey's place within Canada is why the light is shining so brightly upon it. If we were in England, we'd be having the same discussion about soccer/football's role in society. This is fundamentally a power dynamic issue, right? Or a celebrity issue, or it's something that happens whenever you have notoriety, celebrity, or power. Bad things are going to happen, and it's incumbent upon the game of hockey within Canada, given its prominent place, to be instilling positive lessons amongst the players. Canada and its hockey community has to lead, not follow, and certainly not get into trouble like it has right now.
We sent a producer to the Greater Toronto Hockey League, a game in the city's northwest end, to talk to hockey parents. Keep in mind, this is as Hockey Canada's situation is very much in the headlines. Here are some of their comments.
I'm appalled. I'm sort of ashamed of Hockey Canada and the people in charge.
Do you think that there's a culture problem within hockey?
I don't think it's exclusive to hockey. I think it was something that was sort of found out, but I think it's probably something that happens in any sport and, throughout society.
I don't really think that it's in the hockey world. I think there was a couple bad apples and stuff went down. It's not something that is part of hockey. Something that happened that never should have happened, and I think it could happen in any so-called world.
And so, Greg, we're talking here about hockey and toxicity, and I wonder if we need to narrow it down. Like, I think of all the parents and kids who are playing house league hockey, so not much adulation there. The only people in the stands are maybe their parents. So as we talk about this, do we need to narrow the focus a little bit?
I think we do a bit. I mean, hockey at the elite level is very much a high-profile sport within our country. So absolutely, there is the vast majority of the game of hockey within the country of Canada that has nothing to do with Hockey Canada senior executives or power dynamic or whatever. But at the elite level, the focus on team and needing to be a part of the team and focusing on the good of the logo on the front of the jersey being so much more important than the name on the back. That's the tradition of hockey. That's the focus of hockey, certainly at the highest levels. And that's where problems can happen if lines get crossed, and the first instinct is to protect that logo on the front of the jersey and not do the right thing and stand up for someone who may not be on that hockey team.
And Alexis, you can pick up the conversation and take it in any direction you want.
Well, thank you, Ian. And to some degree, a lot of what Greg is saying I would agree with. But my research didn't necessarily show that when I actually went in and measured the attitudes of players. So the other thing is, I understand the difference between elite hockey and recreational hockey. But even the elite players start off at a very young age in order to try to become elite. So they have to sort of buy into a culture at a very young age. And it just, as our research showed, that exacerbates the older they get or the more they go up, like from pee-wee to bantam to midget, that kind of thing. They showed more attitudes that were a little bit disconcerting.
Yeah, so but here's the thing I wonder, Alexis, is are we talking again, like, so the people you interviewed, one group were junior A hockey players, so elite to a large extent. So was it those elite players? Was it about hockey as opposed to sports? You know, what exactly do you think the distinction was? Well,
I would say it was hockey in Canada, but I'm not saying it's not other sports. So, for example, a lot of the research had been coming out when I did the PhD out of the States, looking at sexual assault on campuses by student athletes as well. And it wasn't hockey, it was soccer, football, lacrosse, numerous different sports. Yeah. But again, when we compared the elite junior hockey players who are hoping to make it to the NHL with a group of non-elite hockey players, there was a significant difference on 7 different questionnaires where the hockey players did score significantly higher on things like danger is exciting, violence is manly, and calloused attitudes towards sex. Also lower on empathy for other people's pain, and that's a disturbing finding as a psychologist. So what was leading to those attitudes? Where were they learning that already by 18? It had to come from somewhere, and I'm not saying it's separate from the larger culture either, but there might be other things going on according to my model that encourages that within the team.
I hate to do this to both of you, but we only have a minute left, so it's 30 seconds for each of you. And Greg, let me start with you. There are probably a lot of parents watching, you know, who have kids in hockey, or they're thinking about putting kids in hockey, 8, 10, 12-year-olds. Greg, what would you say to them?
Absolutely do it. Hockey is a wonderful force within our country. It's a wonderful force within the community, and it is a wonderful part of the lives of children growing up in our community. And the hope is we can use hockey to instill the proper lessons and virtues that we want our fellow citizens to have.
Alexis, your message for parents?
Totally agree. There's wonderful positive things in all sport, including hockey. Time management, resiliency, respect, all kinds of values for sure. But I would still argue that there are things that we need to address at the younger subcultural level to make sure that these young men grow up to be healthy human beings and not focus on just being men, for lack of a better word.
Short time to talk about a very big topic, but I really appreciate both of you speaking with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you, Greg.
Nice to meet you.